What superpower would you give your dad?
Save the day. I would give them to save people. Fight bad guys. Be super strong and lift this thing. Fly. Land. Save. Land. Fight me. Give my dad the strongest dribbling hand. Fly. The strongest stick. Hockey stick. Baseball. Kiss. Fly. Fast.
What's your dad's favorite superhero?
Batman. Dang girls. Batman. Superman. Spider-Man. Captain America. Captain America. Iron Man. Hulk. Wolverine. Iron Man. Wolverine. Flash. Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Superman. My dad's favorite superhero is Batman. My dad's favorite superhero is Batman because he fights crime just like my dad. Batman. Flash. Superhero. Spider-Man. Superman.
If your dad could have one superpower, what would it be?
Super speed. Strong muscles. To love and care for me. To have strength. Shoot. Building. Love. Work. Building. Invisible. Be best dog. Be best dad ever. Laser beams. Fly. Curly song. Fly. Fly. Spoil every kid in the world. Make everybody kind. He cares about me. My dad would save people from danger or dead. My dad would punch. My dad would shoot water out of his fingers. My dad would have magic. 5. One like walks faster. Strong. Have muscles. Strong. Lightning. A big TV. A bracelet. A new phone. Golf equipment.
What do you like best about your dad?
Brings me toys.
If you had to go shopping for your dad, what would you buy him?
Bed. A new double computer. A new video game. My dad likes football and his team that he likes is Lions. My dad likes football. My dad likes basketball and he loves the Michigan. Bye-bye. My dad likes to watch my brother's games, which is basketball, and the team is Lions. My dad likes to watch my brother's games at basketball. My dad's favorite sport is football. My dad's favorite sport is football too. My dad's favorite sport is golf. My dad's favorite sport is golf. My dad's favorite sport is golf. My dad's favorite sport is golf too. My dad's favorite sport is golf. Popcorn, pizza, pork. My dad's favorite food is healthy sandwiches. My dad's favorite food is spaghetti. My dad's favorite food is chicken. My dad's favorite food is Doritos. My dad's favorite food is Doritos.
Fantasy movie.
Sandwiches. Steak. My dad's favorite food is steak. My dad's favorite food is steak. My dad's favorite food is Skittles. My dad's favorite food is subs. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad Chinese food.
If your dad had all the money in the world, what would he buy?
He would buy all the toys in the world.
He would buy cigarettes.
He would buy a big truck. My dad would buy a new PS4. My dad would buy a gym for our backyard. My dad would buy a trampoline.
A hot tub.
A private jet. A new car. Toys. Hot tub.
Another kid.
Big bed to take a nap. A big car to ride it every day. A trip to Ireland. A limo.
Video games.
Trip to California.
LaCroix. Bunch of beer.
And a new home. Lots of brand new hockey gear. A trip to a famous football game. A truck. A bunch of beer.
What do you like best about your stepdad or dad?
He's awesome. He's kind. A football.
When your dad was small, what did he like to do for fun?
Hunting. Explosives. Firecrackers.
What do you like best about your dad?
He's playful. He's funny. He's awesome.
When my dad was my age, he would ride his bike on ramps. When my dad was my age, he made holes in his knees.
When my dad was my age, he would play video games.
When my dad was my age, he liked to ride his bike.
When my dad was my age, he liked to play Game Boy.
When my dad was my age, he liked to catch snakes. When my dad was my age, he liked to ride his bike and play with his friends.
When my dad was my age, he liked to play cop and also catch copper snakes.
When my dad was my age, he liked to play basketball. When my dad was my age, he liked to play with his brothers. When my dad was my age, he liked to do lots of dangerous things.
When my dad was my age, he liked to make toys. When my dad was my age, he liked to clean the car.
When my dad was my age, he liked to go outside a lot.
When my dad was my age, he liked to hunt.
He liked to play baseball. When my dad was young, he liked to play with his brothers. When my dad was young, he liked to play video games. I like everything about my dad. I can't pick one. What the best thing I like about my grandpa is that he is funny. There's nothing I do not like about my dad.
If you could buy your dad any present in the world, what would it be?
A vacation to California.
Dirt bike. A massage chair. If money was no object, I would buy my dad a new house.
If money was no object, I would buy my dad a lake boat. The thing that I like about my dad is he's my dad. The thing I like about my dad the most is that he spoils me. thing I like about my grandpas are they're really nice, and the thing I like about my dad is he has a nice, soft, bushy beard. I would buy my dad a trip to the Mississippi River.
I would buy my dad an island.
I would buy my dad a Gucci watch. I would buy my dad the ink stuff for his tattoo thing. I would buy my dad a trip to Hawaii.
I would buy my dad Michigan tickets to a Michigan game. I would buy my father new games.
I would buy my dad a new cooking stove. I would buy my dad a real Volkswagen bus.
I would buy my dad hunting equipment.
I would buy my dad a trip to Disney World.
I would give my dad the summer off of work.
I would give my dad a new TV.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a trip to the Dallas Cowboys and have him meet all the players.
I would buy my dad a jersey signed by all the Detroit Pistons.
I would give my dad all the money in the world so he could be off of work for a while.
If you had all the money in the world, what would you buy your dad?
I would buy him the whole Detroit Tigers team.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a massive bucket of Lures. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a WWE SmackDown game.
I would plan a surprise trip for Sia and Brian.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a sports car.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad cooking supplies.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad more tools.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad some more books. If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a maid.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a sports car.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a year off of work. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my grandpa a barn and my dad a new truck. If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a boat. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a new car.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a tour with Tiger Woods.
To give my dad all the money in the world.
I would take my grandpa to Texas. I would get my dad everlasting hunting supplies. I would get my dad a superhero costume because he is a superhero.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a seasonal pass for the Tigers game.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy the city field for my dad.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a trip to the PGA Tour.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a pass to the Northwest Mountains.
I'm going to buy my dad a truck with a houseboat.
I want to buy my dad a black Ford with a speedboat. I would want to buy my dad a Ford.
What do you love most about your dad?
That he takes me hunting.
He likes to play around with me.
He drives me to hockey games. That he plays video games with me. I love my dad because he takes me to skating. He takes me fishing.
He lets me fix his old cars.
He watches cartoons with me. He likes to play Minecraft with me. He likes to play board games with me. He let me go to my best friend's house. He takes me on dates.
He's very kind to me.
He takes me out to ice cream. He plays with me. He's athletic. He spends time with me. He's caring.
He's strong.
He's kind.
He's funny.
He's funny.
Caring.
Because he makes the best ever Mexican food in the world.
If your dad had $1 million, what would you buy?
A car. A hunting gun.
A water park.
If my dad had $1 million, he He would buy a beer factory.
If my dad had $1 million, I would buy him a bunch of tools.
My dad would buy car parts.
If my grandpa had $1 million, he would buy lots of tools.
My dad would take the whole family to a vacation. My dad would buy a new taxidermy shed.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a store. If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a car.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy the Bears team.
If my grandpa had $1 million, he would buy himself a casino.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a mansion.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy him a private airplane. If my dad had $1 million, he would buy his own truck.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a big boat.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy fishing equipment.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy everything.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy 42 tools.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy his own private island.
If my dad had $1 million, he would take himself to the Bahamas.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a lot of John Deere stuff.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy himself a little pond and then save the rest.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy more Xbox games and more Destiny.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a side-by-side.
If my dad had $1 million, he'd probably save it. If my dad had $1 million, he would buy an Xbox.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a golden car.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a Pac-Man arcade console.
If my dad had $1 million, he would get garbage cans.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a basketball court.
If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a new truck. If my dad had $1 million, he would buy a puppy. If my dad had $1 million, he would buy my family a mansion. He would buy my family a mansion and himself a gym. More food for us to eat.
My dad would buy a mansion and a private jet. If my dad had $1 million, he would buy my mom a new house and he would buy us, my sisters and me, stuff for school.
My dad would probably buy all the land around our property. My dad would buy a farm in Kenya.
My dad would buy a car, then he would buy tools.
He would buy himself eggs.
He would buy himself a motorcycle.
My dad would buy him a Michigan shirt.
Xbox.
My dad would buy him a man cave.
My dad would buy him all the electronics in history. My dad would buy himself a swimming pool and a tan and soap. Buy a golden hot tub. My dad would buy Michigan State fan stuff.
I would buy my dad, I'd fix his leg, buy a new car, and buy him a new house. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a new house, a new truck, and a new car.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a bunch of Prime River, Lamborghini, and a mansion.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a new truck.
If I had all the money in the whole wide world, I would buy him a tree stand.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a mansion, a new truck, and a lot of prime rib.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a mansion.
I would buy my dad The truck that he always wanted because so he can work. If I had $1 million, I would buy my dad a new house.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a restaurant.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad tools. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy him a Ferrari. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad a new job.
If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad everything. If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my dad a private jet.
If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad anything he wanted. If I had all the money in the world, I'd buy my grandpa a dance studio. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy my dad guitars. I'd buy my dad a ranch, but not a hunting ranch with as many horses. I'd buy my dad, if I had all the money in the world, I would buy him a hunting ranch. I would buy my dad a hunting truck. I would my dad love him.
My dad could fix anything. He was very strong, and if there was something that broke or needed to be worked on, he could do it. He could fix anything.
That's what I love about my dad too. He fixes things and he builds things, and he is just very friendly, and he has a lot of patience.
I love my stepdad because he treats me as if I'm his only daughter.
I love my dad and father-in-law because they were both amazing men and taught me so much about life.
I love my dad because he always reminds me every day to put a smile on my face and have strength and courage.
My dad was a very giving man. My dad was always there for me.
My dad teaches me to always follow my dreams.
My dad is always there for me.
My dad was hilarious. He made me smile and laugh daily.
My dad is supportive.
My dad can fix anything. He's so handy.
My dad was very encouraging for me.
I love my dad because he's caring, loving, and hardworking.
My dad was friendly, outgoing, and life of the party.
I love my dad because of his sense of humor. He always makes me laugh.
I love my dad because he was very nice, caring and thoughtful, and he taught me many things.
I loved my dad because he always would tell a joke, but he would tell the punchline to the joke before the joke was over.
My dad loves to tell stories, and he made us work hard because we grew up on a farm. A lot of you know my dad. It's Mr. Bill, the bus driver.
I love my dad because he was a lover of words. He always had a word of the day and helped us to build our vocabulary.
I love my stepdad because he's always there for every member of our family.
I love most about my dad is that he is a character.
What I loved most about my dad is that he was always so much fun and we did lots of great things, activities together.
What I love most about my dad is his positive attitude.
My dad is the best grandparent ever.
My dad was great because he taught me how to be independent by teaching me how to change a tire on my own.
My dad always believed that we could do the best.
He's always there for me.
My dad's giving nature.
My dad loved to travel, and by the time I was 12, I had been in all of the continental United States by train.
My dad was inspiring. He made you believe that you could do anything.
My dad was my first music teacher, and he encouraged me to follow my dreams.
My father taught me to do so many things and played with me so much. He learned how to garden, we learned how to woodwork, we learned how to do all sorts of sports.
I love my dad. My dad is caring, supportive, and so understanding, and I'm very, very grateful for my father.